How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, December 11th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I am going to take a look into Caleb Williams' 2022 season after he was named the Heisman Trophy winner for the 2022 college football season. After initially playing at Oklahoma and moving to play at USC with Lincoln Riley, he would go on and be named the full-time starter and the captain of the team before the season would begin. Of course, by the end of the year, he would go on and win the Maxwell Award for College Football Player of the Year. He would go on to also win the Walter Camp Player of the Year and the AP Player of the Year award. However, the Davey O'Brien Award for the best quarterback would go to Max Duggan. And then looking at how the finalists would finish, Max Duggan would finish second. CJ Stroud from Ohio State would go on and finish third in voting. And then Stetson Bennett, the quarterback from the defending champs Georgia Bulldogs, who very well could win again, would finish fourth in Heisman voting. Taking a look in depth into Caleb Williams' season, he would do the best he could for a USC team that would go on and finish its season with an 11-2 record after it would lose its last game in the Pac-12 championship to Utah before they get ready to play in their last college football game against 14th ranked Tulane in the Cotton Bowl Classic. Looking at how the season would go, his first game versus unranked Rice would see USC win it by 52 points. Caleb Williams would be the leading passer with almost 250 yards of passing with 2 touchdowns. He had 68 yards on the ground as he had 300 yards of offense. After this win, USC was 1-0. Their second game would see USC jump to 2-0 after beating Stanford 41-21. In that matchup, Caleb Williams would throw for 341 yards, and he would also throw 4 touchdowns in that game. USC's third matchup would see them face off against unranked Fresno State. In that matchup, Caleb Williams would throw for 284 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also rushing for 2 touchdowns on the ground. His fourth matchup would see him beat 17th ranked Oregon State. That would be the first ranked team that USC would beat this year, as in this game, Caleb Williams would throw for 180 yards and a touchdown. After jumping out to 4-0, USC would then go on and beat unranked Arizona State at home 42-25. Caleb Williams would throw for 348 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He would also have 44 yards and a rushing touchdown on the ground as he almost hit 400. In their next game, USC would jump out to 6-0 after beating unranked Washington State at home. Against Washington State, Caleb Williams would throw for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 34 yards on the ground to eclipse 200. After starting out their first half of their season 6-0, their first loss would come against 7th ranked Utah, as Utah would go on and win it off of a 2-point conversion. Caleb Williams would throw for 381 yards and 5 touchdowns in this game. He also ran for 57 yards, giving him over 400 total yards and a loss. Their next matchup would see them beat Arizona to jump out to 7-1. Against unranked Arizona, Caleb Williams would throw for 411 yards and 5 total touchdowns. He would also run for an additional 14. Following that 8th game of the season, USC would go on and beat Cal 41-35 at home, as Cal was unranked. Caleb Williams would throw for 360 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 38 yards on the ground and a touchdown, giving him just under 400 yards and giving him 5 total touchdowns for the day. After beating Cal, USC would go on and beat unranked Colorado 55-17. Caleb Williams would throw for 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He also ran for 2 yards on the ground as he had negative yards rushing this game. After their win versus Colorado, they would face off against 18th ranked UCLA. Against the 3rd ranked opponent that Caleb Williams would face, he would throw for 470 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. His 470 yards, I imagine, would be the most passing yards he threw this year. In their second to last game of the regular season, or I guess their last game of the regular season, they would go on and beat 19th ranked Notre Dame to earn a spot for them in the Pac-12 championship. Against Notre Dame, Caleb Williams would throw for 232 yards as he did have a passing touchdown. He had 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground against Notre Dame in order to help get USC into that Pac-12 championship. They would face off against Utah again. After the first time, they would lose by just 1 point. In the Pac-12 championship, USC would lose by 23 points to 7th-ranked Utah, and that loss is the very reason that that USC is not in the college football playoff. This game, Caleb Williams would throw for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns. He ran for 21. Following this season, Caleb Williams, of course, would put together an amazing. He completed at least 66% of his passes, pretty much on par with what he was doing as a freshman at Oklahoma when he earned the Oklahoma starting spot. He threw for 4,075 yards. He would throw for 37 touchdowns through the air, and he had 4 interceptions. Add to what he did on the ground, he had 372 yards rushing. And of course, once you add up all of the stats, all of the yards from this past season, he would go on and finish, Caleb Williams would finish with a total of 4,447 yards. His 10 rushing touchdowns would give him 47 total touchdowns for USC, as he would break a USC touchdown record in just his first season as a starter. With yesterday's win, Caleb Williams also would become the 8th player in USC history to win the Heisman Trophy. The first one was Mike Garrett in 1965, then it was O.J. Simpson in 1968, then Charles White in 1979, then Marcus Allen in 1981. The first quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, was Carson Palmer. Then it was Matt Leinart in 2004. And the most recent one before Caleb Williams was Reggie Bush in 2005. So, of course, Caleb Williams will earn his way into USC history. I imagine he's going to get his number retired at the Coliseum. However, because he is a sophomore, he is not eligible to enter the NFL draft, which means you will see another year of Caleb Williams, just like you saw another year of Bryce Young before Bryce Young goes to the pros. With that said, I do want to thank everyone for listening to all 7 minutes of this piece. I do hope all is well. Of course, this is just like a chunk of time you can really kind of preserve in history. To be fair, I honestly can't wait to see what Caleb Williams' football career looks like. After all, we've seen a lot of Heisman winning quarterbacks perform incredibly well in the NFL, and we've also seen a lot of Heisman quarterbacks perform not so well. But as of right now, Caleb Williams is on top of the college football world, and it'll be interesting to see whether he leads USC to a championship next year, to see if he can take it to the next step. Thanks for listening once again. Today is Sunday, December 11th. 2022. I'm James Sims. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you with another episode right after this.